Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
How you doing out there? This is Ben Dickerson. I'm your co-host. Ben and Barry on football is a big part of my life now after we've been doing it for a couple of years. And we're about to start the 2020 season. I'm really excited. So let's talk some football.
Let's talk some football. Okay. Well, Benny, this is actually a continuation. We kicked it off with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Texans. So we don't normally get a chance to do any quick reviews, but let's just throw out a couple, thoughts about last night's game. Kansas City came out victorious on that. Final score actually looked better than it was at 20-34. I know at one point in the fourth quarter it was like 31-7.
Okay.
And so the Texans got in some last minute points, and but it was way too little, too late for all that. So what did you think about?
Well, it turned out to be a pretty good game for any fantasy owners out there that had Edwards-Helaire or Travis Kelce. They did very well. They got lots of fantasy points for their prospective owners, so that's a good thing. The game itself, I would say that the Kansas City Chiefs are off to the kind of start that everybody probably expected. The Texans have some issues on defense, obviously, but Deshaun Watson looks great, actually. Again, we talked about the Texans and having Hopkins not there anymore, hoping that Will Fuller and guys like Kenny Stills and some of those other receivers could fill the void. They didn't quite get it done. It was good to see Dennis Johnson back. Dennis Johnson looked healthy. He ran the ball well. I believe he had a touchdown on the ground. They didn't throw to him that much, but I think the Texans are going to be a little work in progress, but they will not be terrible. But Kansas City, yeah, they're off and running.
Well, first thing I'll say is I've been looking at the concept of continuity, and especially as it applies to NFL teams. And if you go to the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, I did put up a final chart of last year's net points as a starting point, and then adding to that the thought about continuity. And last night, Kansas City looked like the team that made the least amount of changes, and continuity was a strength for them, as opposed to the Texans. Now, first of all, when you get rid of one of the best receivers in the league, that's when it's third and you got to get it. Who do you go to is sort of their question now. David Johnson looked good running the ball when he got a chance to run. I thought they should have ran the ball more. When you're playing the Chiefs, to some degree, it's a game of keep away. If you can control the clock, control the ball, and keep it out of their hands, it helps, in that. As far as Helaire was concerned, I know you saw him a lot more than I did. My question is, can he make it through a season?
Well, that's the question on every hotshot rookie that comes out. The great thing is he played on the national championship team that was also the champion of the best college football conference, the SEC. So we're talking about the best of the best of the best of college football. We're not talking about a guy that played at South Dakota State, you know what I mean? And, well, we don't know about the competition. Maybe the speed of the game might catch up with him. This guy played in an elite college system. So if anybody has a chance to make it through the season, he will. And he looked to me like he's going to be the type of runner that's going to thrive in Andy's offense. And let's face it, I mean, I know Andy wants to run the ball a little more. He showed that propensity when he was coaching the Eagles and all that. But this guy is going to be a factor, and I don't think they're going to end up running him into the ground like some running backs do. I'd be surprised if he breaks 250 carries. Now he might have 300 touches because he's got good hands, but I doubt if he'll have like 250 carries from scrimmage. So that should help him.
There was just a few times when he was getting tackled last night, and I'm like, this guy, I know from my understanding, he's amazingly strong, number one. Because what is he? What height-wise?
I think
5'7", something like that.
5'8", yeah.
Sorry about that. And then he's running into the middle of the line, and you got J.J. Watt, who's like 9'9", trying to tackle him. And I know that creates a problem for those tall guys. And he's really quick, got great moves. And again, he is like a little power back running down there, So this is, we shall see in terms of that. You're right. That's every running back's question, especially rookie running back. But yeah, he made a stand last night. And lastly, the one touchdown that they threw to Watson, I think, last night.
Sammy Watkins?
I'm sorry. Sammy Watkins. I'm looking at this play. They looked like when they were lined up, they were toward the right side of the field, right? Not my lefts and rights are messed up on the screen. I can't even go left or right. And they had the short side of the field to their right. And they had like a trips formation out there. And I'm going, wait, they got the trips formation on the short side of the field. There's nothing over here. And I'm like, what are they going to do with all of this empty space, right? And they ran that quick little in. He throws the ball. It's like a screen. And on the short side, almost like a power play, because I understand he had a tight end out there and maybe a fullback out there also.
Right.
So very, very creative play. Not something, I would have thought that they would have did that on the wide side. If you got trips and everything out on the wide side, they did it on the short side and didn't even try to go wide. So they're going to be a team that between that arm that we talked about, that's going to be a problem for the league. And he showed it a couple times last night. I think the touchdown that he threw to
Tyreek Hill.
I mean, it was so perfect of a pass. It was right in front of him. Tyreek just had jumped a little bit and caught it. The defender was right there. There was nothing he could do about it.
They showed that route, okay? First of all, I kind of watched the replay of the game, and I saw it, and then they showed the replay of the route. So he lined up on the left, and he ran a straight drag from that side of the field all the way over to the right side of the field. And what the commentator said was exactly right. He said, this is just I'm going to drag across the field, and I'm faster than you.
Absolutely.
Direct, straight line across the front of the end zone and simply got a step on the guy, jumped a little bit, made a little body catch. See you later. So talent-wise, on offense, the Chiefs still bring a lot to the table. Teams are going to be hard-pressed to figure out how to stop all those weapons.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the Bias Plus reports for the slate of games this weekend. Bias Plus report. Let's look at the Seahawks at the Falcons. Bias Plus score 42 favors the Seahawks. There's a lot of questions about the Falcons. The Falcons wound up last year with minus 18 net points. The Seahawks were only plus 7. They had a lot of the turnovers favored the Seahawks by 17 because the Falcons were minus 5 and the Seahawks were plus 12. So a lot figured into that total score. I'm hearing a lot about my boy Metcalf. They're really talking about him potentially on Good Morning Football, talking about him potentially coming into his own in this second season. So Seahawks and Falcons, Bias Plus score 42 favoring the Seahawks. What do you got?
I'm going to go with the bias, and I'm going to go with the Seahawks. Number one, They have Russell Wilson. That says a lot right there. Danger Russ, that's what I like to call him. Running game wise, they don't get much tougher than Chris Carson. Receiver wise, like you mentioned, DK Metcalf, I think eventually may actually blossom into the number one receiver on that team. I do like Lockett, but I think that Metcalf is a more explosive and dangerous type of wide receiver, especially when they get close to the end zone. I expect his end zone touches or opportunities to really grow this season. The Falcons are not dead. We're going to have to see how healthy Ty Gurley is finally, that he's gotten away from the Rams and had a chance to really heal up and take his time getting himself in shape. If there was one guy I was expecting, and we talked about the other day about these soft tissue injuries with the lack of OTAs and the lack of preseason and all, that's one guy whose name I expected to see pop up, but it hasn't. He's been healthy and he's been working. He hasn't missed practices or anything that I know of. So, if you're a Ty Gurley fan, you like good running backs, then that's a good thing. Obviously, they have Julio, and obviously they have Calvin Ridley, who I expect to be a bit of a breakout receiver this year for a young guy. But the Atlanta defense is suspect, and that's going to be a problem. It should be a good game. The Falcons are at home, but yeah, I'm going with the Seahawks.
Speaking of defense, the Seahawks have a very special player that they brought in.
Special, you say?
Safety. Jamal Adams?
Excuse me, who?
Jamal Adams?
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that. I think we talked about that earlier, too, right after the deal was made. It's funny. There's a lot of people who think Jamal Adams is like some kind of fraud or something. I don't know where they get this from. You can't fall into the trap of these guys that have a lot of mouth and are very outspoken and kind of brag on themselves a little bit. But guess what? Use the eyeball test. Either the guy can play or he can't play. People hated Jalen Ramsey. Now he's the highest paid defensive back in history or something. I mean, they don't give him that because he's a good trash talker. They give it to him because the boy can play. And Jamal Adams can play. And I think he fits the Seahawks style of defense perfectly. So, again, something else to look for in this season.
I actually watched him on one of those NFL shows where they're sitting there and they're dissecting film.
Oh, my God. He's awesome on that.
He's no shrinking violet even on that. But you're right, because he's up on the line, he's blitzing, he's covering, he's all over the place. And and like you said, that physical aspect that fits the Seahawks defense, he's going to be a part of that. So and from what I understand, he can cover tight ends. So I'm going to be interested to see that matchup later on with our tight ends. When I say our, I mean my beloved Niners.
He's in the Troy Polamalu mold, a safety that blitzes quite a bit. Tyrann Mathieu is that kind of a guy. Minkah Fitzpatrick, those kind of guys who can cover tight ends. They can cover running backs, and they can come off the edge too fast to be blocked and get sacks and hurries and rushes. So, there's not a lot of
interceptions. Tyrann Mathieu was responsible for that interception last night with the pressure he put on.
Exactly. Those guys are a terror coming off the edge, and like I said, they can cover. The only people they keep those guys away from a little bit is like your really speedy receivers. No, that's why you draft good, fast corners. You know what I mean? But when you have a strong safety or even a roving type of linebacker that can do so many things, that becomes a really big asset on your defense.
All right. Next up, let's see what we got here. Man. Football's back, Benny. Football is back. Browns at Ravens. I do believe this is the highest bias plus score of the weekend. 325. And you only get that when, number one, you have the highest net points coming off of last year. And again, we're using last year's net points because there are no scores. Next week, as of the second week, all points will be from this season and forward. So we started out with last year's net points just to give an idea about where the teams ended up last year. Now, of course, they've made some changes. The Browns made some changes. I'll let you talk a little about, because you mentioned it the other day with the Browns. The Ravens look more like the continuity team here, the team that's kind of still together. And any particular changes are escaping me for right now. You might be better at that with your fantasy stuff. And oh, by the way, I was giving you some kudos. I got some people coming to Ben and Barry on football because they want to hear these fantasy wisdom that you're going to be kicking out for the season. So just thought I'd blow your head up a little bit on that.
I'm just glad you came across some other people that like fantasy besides me. So you'll stop looking at me like some kind of geek or something.
Oh no, that's not going to happen. Yeah.
What's not going to happen? You're not going to stop?
Stop looking at But the funny thing was, I had a refrigerator repair guy came out, right? And he had his trainee with him, younger guy, right? So while the older guy was fixing the refrigerator, the younger guy standing there, and I started talking about football. And he looked a little athletic. And I asked him if he played sports. He said, no, he really hadn't played football or whatever. He said, but the only football he got into now is fantasy, you know? So you got a non-football player playing, you know, that's heavy in the fantasy right now, looking for good information. So there you go.
I'll do my best.
Do your best.
That's all I can do.
All right, Browns at Ravens. Bias plus score 325 favors the Ravens. Benji, what you got?
Well, even though that bias plus score is a bit skewed because we're using last year's numbers, I have to go with the Ravens. I feel they're a far better team, although I believe that the Browns will be improved, not necessarily because of the players that they have or anybody that they brought in, but the fact that they have a new head coach and a new staff there. And I think they'll use their talents a little more to the advantage of the entire team as opposed to the coaching staff that was there before. But not enough to beat the Ravens. They got too much going on for them. It'll be interesting to see what strides Lamar Jackson has made, considering the giant step he took between his first year and last year. I think that he can continue to get better, just like Mr. Mahomes, but you know what I'm talking about. As far as throwing the ball is concerned, I think he can get better, and I want to see where he's at here. It's going to get scary for some of these teams out here facing this guy. It's going to get really scary.
Last night when I was watching, I thought that Houston's quarterback, he got in a few situations where he wound up running. And it was like, I kind of felt like had that been Mahomes, he would have escaped for time and found someone to throw to, you know, as opposed to just taking off. And that's going to be the difference in the maturation for a lot of these quarterbacks. Can they fight that instinct to just start running and use that athleticism to buy some additional time, like a Russell Wilson? I mean, if you got to run, if it's third down, you got to get that first to keep things going, you got to run. You know, you got to do what you got to do in the game. But to fight that urge and to be prepared, you know, to just use that athleticism to buy yourself time. And I think when we see him really do that, he's going to be a super scary guy, because we know that if he does decide, and I'm talking now, you know, about the Ravens, if he does decide to run, you know, it's off to the races. Who can catch him, you know? So I'm with you there. All right. Anything else on that?
No, bias is with the Ravens, and so am I.
All right, bias is with the Ravens, and so is Benny. Jets at Bills. Now, I know how you feel about the Bills, but in the bias plus score of 146 favors those Bills. Again, a team with good continuity, good talent, a hot defense. Um, Josh Allen, another athletic quarterback who, has to learn the same things that, Deshaun, Lamar, and any of the other athletic quarterbacks has to learn, is how to use that pocket and how to buy time so that he can get that ball and start to spread that ball around and not, tire himself out running the ball. So Jets at Bills, Jets minus Jamal Adams. That's a big change on their defense. That's a hole that they have to fill. Have you looked at that at all?
I haven't looked at anything as far as the Jets defense is concerned, and specifically about filling the hole for Jamal Adams. However, I have looked a lot at the Bills. I like the Bills a whole lot. I believe in a previous show, I spoke on the fact that I believe they will win their division and they will beat the New England Patriots, maybe twice, if not just split with them. But, we'll get into that later while we're going, game by game. As far as this game is concerned, also, we're talking about, again, the maturation of a young quarterback on both teams this time. Sam Darnold and Josh Allen both came in in the same draft class. So they're going to be compared a lot, probably for the rest of their careers if they stay on the two teams that they're on. But I think Allen is a step ahead of Darnold only because he has better weapons. I think Sam Darnold is a really, really good quarterback. I think that Sam Darnold lacks an offensive line that can protect him and also open up holes for Le'Veon Bell, who still has gas in the tank but did not show it last year. So any great improvement in the way that the Jets play and the difference between them winning and losing games is going to be improvement on their defense and improvement on their offensive line. The Bills have playmakers on offense, just got a new one in Stephon Diggs, and their defense is stellar. So, yeah, got to go with the Bills all the way.
And I would give the edge in coaching to the Bills also.
Absolutely.
So I agree with you there. Okie dokie. Next up, what do we got here? Raiders at Panthers. Now we're getting to some smaller bias plus scores, not those humongous scores. These teams finished out last season a lot closer. Both struggled. Bias plus score of 36 favors the Raiders. When I look at this, the Raiders, now this is one of those situations where both teams were in the minus in net points last year. The Raiders were simply less minus than the Panthers at minus 106 versus the Panthers minus 130. The Raiders took a little bit better care of the ball with only minus 2 turnovers, whereas the Panthers had minus 14. And, as far as continuity is concerned, that would go to the Raiders. The Panthers have a brand new head coach who's never coached in the NFL before. And so that's a big change for them. What do you got on this one?
The Panthers' new coach, Matt Rule, at one time coached Temple University here in Philadelphia, where we are located. He's been out to Baylor, where he basically turned the program around, and now he's getting his shot at the NFL. I like Matt Rule. I liked what he's done, in the college ranks. That doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a really good professional football coach, but we'll see very soon. I, for one, am in his corner. I believe what happened to the Panthers last year, again, was a weak defense, but a lot of holes in the secondary, along with the fact that they got really, really poor quarterback play. Without Cam Newton there, their backup situation was lacking. And that's what really did them in. The Raiders, on the other hand, are pretty young and pretty exciting. They had a lot of really good games. They had some close games. They had some shootouts. They came out on the losing end pretty often, but they're an interesting team to watch. However, I think the difference this year is, and by the way, I'm going with the Panthers, so this will be the first game I'm going against the bias. I think the difference will be what did them in last year, and that was quarterback play. And this year they now have Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater is going to make a big difference on that offense, an offense that already has Christian McCaffrey, who is arguably the number one running back in the league. And they also have a very, very nice, proficient, good hands, good speed, DJ Moore at wide receiver. And DJ Moore, it's amazing the numbers that he got last year, even with the poor quarterback play and the lack of a really strong number two receiver. So I'm expecting the Panthers to actually take off and win a couple more games than they won last year. So I'm going to pick the Panthers over the Raiders.
Panthers actually finished up 31st on defense last year. The Raiders were both 24th in points against and points for, so they were just down in that area. And again, Panthers gave up more turnovers. The Teddy factor, something that I haven't heard anybody talk about. I mean, really, it's amazing.
You're right. I haven't heard much. I haven't heard his name. I haven't heard his name mentioned. There's not a whole lot coming out of Panthers camp.
So that's a secret. That's a secret sauce that they're going to throw out there. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. All right, Teddy Bridgewater, man, that's crazy. All right. Bears, Lions. Lions hosting the Bears. Bias plus score 69 favors the Bears. Mitchell Trubisky was given the green light as a starter. He is one of those guys who's claiming that he's picked this game up a little bit better pocket quarterback, and he is the one that we came up with the phrase Trubiskying it up because we've seen him do that a few times. But they still have Khalil Mack. They finished up last year at 20th with minus 18 points. The Lions are 24th with minus 82. We're talking about net points there. The Bears ranked 4th defensively in terms of giving up points as opposed to the Lions, who were 26. And that probably is the biggest differential there, except that quarterback. That seems to favor the Lions. It should anyway.
Well, I'd say probably Matt Stafford is a much better quarterback than Mitchell Trubisky. What I find amusing, and I'm not going to kill you with this all year long, but if Trubisky doesn't play well, what does that say about Nick Foles? Guy that they brought there specifically to compete with this guy and take the job away from him because they were afraid to take it away from him because they ranked him so high and drafted him so high and gave him so much money over so many other quarterbacks who are now flourishing as he wallows. That's a lot to put on Nick Foles, isn't it?
You say he was
really people really drank the Nick Foles Kool-Aid. And I'll tell you what, it's a great thing what he did when he was with the Eagles, to come in and take over after the starter goes down and rally the troops and get these guys to a Super Bowl and beat Tom Brady and all that. But I tell you what else has he done in his career? Nothing. Nada.
7 touchdowns, one game.
7 touchdowns in one game against the Raiders. Oh, boy, that's a good one. Anyway, I'm going to have to take the Bears. I don't want to. As a matter of fact, I changed my mind just that fast. I don't want to, and I'm not going to. Even though the Bears have the better defense, and even though the Lions are a little challenged at running back right now. They're going to go with Kerryon Johnson, even though they picked DeAndre Swift, also a Philadelphia native. I don't think DeAndre is quite ready yet. I think he's got like a little groin injury or something that he's trying to get over. He may get some carries. He may not play. I'm not sure. But I think Matt Stafford will get enough through the air to carry them. And hopefully Mitchell Trubisky will play his normal game, and that'll be the end of that because the Bears' running game is nothing to write home about either. So, yeah, I'm going to go against the bias, and I'm going with the Lions.
Going with the Lions
Big rivalry game.
Bias.
Yeah, this is a huge rivalry game. This Bears, Lions, Bears, Packers, Minnesota, Lions. Those are long-standing rivalries in that division. So those games are always tough. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Lions.
Okay, I don't know if I completely agree that they truly brought him Nick Foles there to compete. I still think they're looking at the Eagles model and going, yeah, if we can get Nick Foles to come in here, if we can work Trubisky to a certain point and then bring him in as relief. You know, you and I.
Point, though? What does that mean? What does a certain point mean?
Point of injury or failure. I mean,
he's been failing for the last 2 years.
Well, they're going to give him one more shot, but at this particular point, I think, and we shall see, but that's just a feeling that I have. Because, like you said, if you look at Nick Foles' body of work as a starter, really? I mean, as much as you might have questions about Mitchell Trubisky, you really think that this was an upgrade? I mean, come on. If Mitchell can't do anything, he could run. If he couldn't if he can't throw, he could at least run. And Nick Foles is not going to do that. Hopefully he would get the ball out, but he didn't do much. Where was he at? Jacksonville?
He didn't. He made it. I think he played like 2 games or something.
You know what I'm saying? So
he's either stinking it up or he's hurt, and most of the time he's hurt.
He got hurt quick last year too. He got paid all year.
He's been hurt quite a bit.
All right, so let's get ready to move forward. Let's see who we got up next here, sir. As a matter of fact, we just talked this team up a little bit in terms of Nick Foles. Colts at Jaguars. Bias plus score 88 favors the Colts. That's a nice, healthy bias plus. It's not humongous. It's 88. Colts wound up minus 12 last year. The Jaguars ended up minus 97 in terms of net points. And the Jaguars also were ranked 26 last year. So, Jaguars have some work to do. And then we were talking about some of their trades, some of the things that they see. The question that we had in the other show that we just did, the previous show, are the Jaguars tanking for Trevor? That's the question. Are they tanking for Trevor? They got Buckner. The Colts got Buckner from my Niners. They're shoring up their defensive line. The Colts look like they want to do something this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that the Colts are ready to prove that minus a quarterback, they're right on the edge of becoming contenders again. They're still just trying to get over the loss of Andrew Luck, I believe. Bringing in Phillip Rivers, probably, I'm sure their fans are a little torn about that because let's face it, Phillip Rivers is like 73 years old. But still, that funky delivery, he can still get the ball downfield. And now he's got weapons. He had weapons when he was in L.A., but he has weapons again here, especially at the positions that he likes, which is the tight end. He's got running backs that can catch, and he's got a healthy T.Y. Hilton now. So I expect Phillip Rivers to be somewhere in that comeback player of the year talk. Obviously, he won't win it because he would only be coming back from a really bad year into having a good year. It's not like he came back from a severe injury or something like that. But yeah, I'm pretty sure the Colts are going to have a little bit too much offense for the Jaguars. This could be a good game, though. This could be a real shootout, to tell you the truth, because the Colts defense isn't really, really great. What you have the numbers on them real fast from last season?
Well, last year defensively, the Colts ranked 18th.
Oh, 18th. Well, guess what? Okay, if they're in the top 20, then I got to give them a little bit more love. So I was wrong about that. And if they got a defensive lineman from the 49ers, that can only be a plus. So in that respect, that makes my pick even stronger. I'm going to stick with the Colts there. I don't think the Jags will have too much for them.
You know, I have a tremendous suspicion of Phillip Rivers. So I'm really going to look closely and see, how if he's been able to make that transition from the turnover machine he was last year to this year and improve. I think he will. He's got a good coach,
Yeah, he does. I think him and Frank Reich are going to really work well together.
Yeah,
I believe that to be a really good combination.
so I'm going to, be positive relative to that, but there's always something in the back going, I don't know about this guy.
Come on, man. Leave the guy alone.
I don't know about that guy, man.
He's got like 12 kids,
Hey, look. Hey, I ain't got enough money to feed him, man. I ain't worried about
Oh,
that.
absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's why he keeps having them. He's like, because I can afford it. And I like kids.
Can afford him. If anybody can afford him, he can. I mean, but Jimmy Christmas, 12 kids.
I'm exaggerating. I think he has like 9 kids.
He might have 15. You don't even know. Just joking. All right. This is a game right here. Now, you were talking about rivalry.
Yes. This is that division.
Central.
Yes.
Bias plus score 40 favors the Vikings. So when I look back at this, okay, the Vikings were 7th ranked in net points. The Packers were 9th, but there was a big disparity because the Packers had 63 net points in 9th place. In 7th place, the Vikings had 104. So big disparity there. Packers were 9th in points against. The Vikings were 5th. Packers were 15th in offense. Vikings were 8th. Ergo, Kirk Cousins and the Vikings have the bias by 40, which isn't a big one, over Aaron Rodgers and the same old team that he. Now, that's a situation where continuity actually is pissing Aaron Rodgers off because he wanted a little bit more in terms of some receivers and some weapons.
Yeah, continuity would be nice if, in fact, he had a better receiving core to start out with. But he does have Devontae Adams, and Devontae Adams is he's arguably the best receiver in the league. Between himself and Michael Thomas and Julio and DeAndre, that's your top 4, and you can juggle them any way you want to. But they also still have Aaron Rodgers, and he may not be in the best mood. He may not be happy about them drafting a quarterback early. He may not be happy about them not getting him any weapons, but he's still Aaron Rodgers, and somehow he makes things work. So I have a feeling that this is going to be a really scary game for the Vikings, but I think that the Vikings will pull it out simply because they got an awesome running game. Kirk Cousins, although he's not one of the greatest quarterbacks in the league right now, he's a really good game manager. He's a little hard-pressed for receiver work, too. Thielen is still there, but they lost Stephon Diggs. So somebody's got to step up. One of those the rookie they picked up is also a player from LSU that I spoke about earlier when I was talking about Edwards-Helaire. and that's Justin Jefferson. So I'd like to keep an eye out for him, see how well he does, how well he adapts to professional football from a wide receiver standpoint. But I got to go with the Vikings.
Got to go with the Vikings on that one against your boy Aaron Rodgers, and as much as you love Devontae Adams, wow, okie dokie. Next up, now talking about continuity. When you're looking at continuity, when you change your starting quarterback, that's a big break in continuity right there. When you keep your head coach, that's a big stay, and continuity. The Dolphins, we like the Dolphins. We like Flores, the coach. They're still coming in. They were pretty much last in net points last year, so he had to fight the tanking that his owner managers seem to be putting him in those bad situations. So when you look at this bias plus score of 414, which favors the Patriots, that's very misleading. Brady is no longer there, and we have an unknown situation in terms of the total fit, not in terms of his replacement. We kind of know who Cam Newton is. We know about his talent, his capabilities. We've seen how hard he's worked. They've really talked about the time and how much he put into it. But this is his first year in the Belichick system. And the New England Patriots had the most, I think, of any team with terms of COVID-19 opt-outs, especially on their defense. A lot of people left. So this is going to be a real coaching challenge for the Patriots. The Dolphins always give the Patriots a problem. I think they actually split like in the last 4 games or something like that. So this should be a very interesting game to watch. What do you think?
It may be a good game to watch. Well, it's going to be a good game to watch because everybody's going to be interested to see how the Patriots offense goes without Tom Brady there. He was there so long and he had so much success. So obviously that's something to look out for. And then on the other side of that, you got your Cam Newton fans and your Cam Newton haters who are going to be wishing him good luck and also hoping that he falls on his face. So, yeah, that'll be a very heavily watched game, and not just up in that area, but all over the country. Personally, I think Cam's going to be just fine. I haven't heard anything close to a questionable attitude from him. I've heard nothing but good things from his teammates, from coaches, the media up there that covers the Patriots has had nothing but glowing things to say about him. The players picked him as a captain. I mean, you don't pick a brand new guy to the team as captain unless he really deserves it, and they've done that. So I think Cam's transition over to there, and Belichick and McDaniels' transition to him being a new quarterback instead of Tom Brady is going to work out just fine for them. It's a shame for the Dolphins to have to play a division rival that beats them pretty handily, even though they've had some success in some fluky games here and there. I don't see them to be any kind of a challenge for the Patriots. On top of the fact that now you got a game plan for Cam. You game planned your behind off for Tom Brady and still couldn't stop him. Now you have to game plan against Cam in a completely different and brand new offense. That's going to be a challenge for everybody on their schedule, really. So you may see some things from Cam that are familiar to you, and you may also see some things that you haven't seen Cam do before, or you haven't seen Cam do very often in the past. He's a big mystery now. He's like that rookie pitcher that they call up from the minor leagues in the middle of the season, and he pitches like a one hitter, and everybody's like, "Yo, did you see that curveball? We never seen it before." You don't know what to expect. So I think that gives them an advantage. I really do. So Patriots all day on that one.
Watch some film of the Patriots when they had Jacoby Brissett at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
and some of the changes that they're a little chameleon like.
May see some of that.
You
Kind of
know?
the same skill set, except Cam is more dynamic than Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett, although he can run because he's an athlete, he's not really that nimble of a quarterback, if you ask me. But, yeah, Cam is still a threat. Now, I'm sure they're not going to have him running like he did in Carolina because, let's face it, the guy doesn't want to bang up his shoulder again, and he runs with reckless abandon, and he dives and all that stuff. So you got to protect him from himself. But, yeah, he's going to be scary. He's going to be scary, and he's going to be hard to stop. And with the mastermind behind him, there's no telling. There's no telling what that offense can do.
That's going to be the interesting thing is the mastermind behind them. What are those guys going to do? And again, we got to remember last year, the Patriots had the #1 defense relative to points allowed. So, you know, where they're going to stand this year, you know, with all the opt-outs, et cetera, is going to be very interesting to see. And that's Belichick's thing. He doesn't even have a defensive coordinator. He is the man relative to that. So that's going to be very interesting. Okay, next up, in the division, NFC East, Eagles at Washington. Bias plus score 196 favors the Eagles. All right, there you go, sir. That's your division. What you got?
I got Eagles all day. Eagles all day, but Washington gives them a little bit of run for their money. I'm going to believe that Dwayne Haskins is going to show improvement. The Washington quarterback is going to show improvement over last season, which was pretty bad for him. If he shows a little bit of improvement and the rookie running back that took over, excuse me, for Adrian Peterson, Antonio Gibson, I believe is his name. They have a bona fide #1 receiver in Terry McLaurin. So they have pieces on offense that will allow him to move the ball and make plays. The question, again, as usual, will be the defense. Are they going to be able to stop what the Eagles bring on offense? The Eagles' offense, if in fact Miles Sanders is healthy enough to play, because right now I think he's questionable. Jalen Reagor, who I thought was going to be out for the first couple of games, actually practiced in full yesterday. So that's a big boost for them. They'll be able to get him out on the field early. And obviously they're going to need him because I don't think Alshon Jeffrey is anywhere near ready. He probably shouldn't even really be on the team anymore, but that's subject for another day. Other than that, they still have Zach Ertz, who's got a little contract thing going on. And I'm sure they're going to try to use Goddard more because he's the heir apparent to Zach Ertz if, in fact, they have to trade him or lose him in free agency. So there's a lot of issues going on with the Philadelphia Eagles, but I believe that they pretty much got everything settled down on their defense. Their D-line should still be pretty good. Where they're lacking right now is at linebacker. Their linebacker core isn't very strong. That could be a problem when it comes to stopping the run. And I believe Washington's best asset on offense is their offensive line and running the ball. So this game could be interesting, but I got to take the Eagles. That'd be crazy for me not to take them.
And Washington has the defensive lineman that they
Chase
drafted.
Young.
Chase Young.
Yes, absolutely. He was the second pick in the draft behind Joe Burrow, I believe. And he's supposed to be great. He was drafted because he was great in college. I've heard a lot of good things coming out of camp from him. I expect him to be great, but he's just one guy. Of course, I heard somebody else on TV say, yeah, well, he's only one guy. And the guy said, yeah, well, Nick Bosa's only one guy too, you know? So, you know, he took a D-line that was already good and flooded with #1 picks and took him to another level. That kid came right in right away and was a boss right away. Same thing with TJ Watt. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's this thing about having big brothers in the league or something. But TJ Watt for the Steelers came right in and was good right away. Took their D-line from here to there. So it can happen. It can happen.
I am looking forward to seeing Chase Wentz.
Chase Wentz.
Yeah, I'm looking
It
forward.
all like it's one word, like it's a sandwich. I like a Chase Wentz.
Exactly.
Look,
All right.
Wentz on that for me, would you?
Phillip Rivers is no longer with the Chargers. The Chargers are visiting the Bengals with Joe Burrow, top number 1 draft pick in the for last year's draft. The bias plus score of 130 favors the Chargers. Now again, this was a situation where, neither team looked really great. I mean, okay. Chargers were 16th, minus 8 net points last year. The Bengals were 30th at minus 141. So, yeah, the Chargers definitely look like the team with a continuity, except, well, no, quarterback. You got a whole nother quarterback here. So that's a big change in continuity. Same thing with the Bengals, but they have a rookie quarterback coming in. So it looks good for the Chargers still. What do you think?
I think that I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to believe in the hype. I'm going to believe in Joe Burrow until he shows me otherwise. A.J. Green is back. Joe Mixon is back. Tyler Boyd, who played great in the absence of A.J. Green last year, is back. Joe Burrow has weapons, and he's proven at LSU, the best college program in the country, next to Alabama, that he's a big-time football player. I don't think he'll have the rookie jitters. Obviously he's going to have his issues with reading defenses because he's going to see things that he hasn't ever seen before. But I believe he's a hard worker. He will be prepared. And I believe that they will beat the Chargers. I feel bad for Tyrod Taylor. He keeps finding himself in a situation where he's got, a young quarterback behind him who's expected to be a starter within at least a year. And if he doesn't stay healthy, like what happened to him when he was in Buffalo, the kid Herbert is just waiting in the wings, ready to take over. I'm sure they're going to try to win games with Tyrod. I've been watching them on Hard Knocks. I believe that they truly believe that Tyrod can lead them and that they can win games with Tyrod. This isn't necessarily a placeholder position for him, but the quarterback that they have, the young kid, he's a prototypical NFL stand in the pocket, tall, stand and deliver type of guy. So they'll have to change the offense a little bit for him if something goes wrong. But I don't think the Chargers is going to be right. I think Cincinnati is ready for a resurgence, and I think Joe Burrow is the guy that can bring that on. So I'm going to pick the upset here, small upset as it may be, and I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Right. Way to go get them. That's it right there. Joe Burrow, Ohio. All right. Next up, some people think this is going to be the game of the week. They're looking forward to it. Buccaneers at Saints. 2 GOATs going after it. Bias plus score 136 favors the Saints. Continuity favors the Saints. Buccaneers have the new quarterback, Tom Brady, but he might be able to overcome the continuity situation. We know what happened last year in terms of Jameis Winston, as far as being a turnover machine and leading the Bucs to a minus 13 net turnovers and a 28th place in turnovers, whereas the Saints, were second in turnovers with plus 15. So just that difference of having Tom Brady right there should make a big difference Tom Brady's adapting to the system. He's adapting to the heat. He's adapting, but he's Tom Brady. So what can I say? 136 favors the Saints, however. What do you got?
Yeah, a lot to see in this game, too. Again, this is going to be one of those games that people are waiting to see so that they can see how Tom Brady looks in a different uniform and how he performs even at his advanced age with a team full of playmakers. I'm not exactly sure grabbing Leonard Fournette was the right thing to do for them. I kind of have a lot of questions about Leonard Fournette, about his attitude and about his drive. But sometimes a change of scenery can do wonders for a guy. So who knows? He might become a really big asset for him. If he does, he's going to make them extremely hard to beat because the running game is probably the only thing that they're kind of lacking. As far as the ball through the air, you can't have much better than Brady, and he can't have much better weapons than Evans and Godwin. I'm telling you, man. And report out of Tampa are that Gronkowski looks like the 2017 version. So that's going to be really, really scary. And right behind him, so that they don't have to dog him out, they said O.J. Howard has taken a big step in improving his game. So they're going to be really hard to beat. However, this is a division game, and the team that's been ruling this division is the New Orleans Saints. And they're still the New Orleans Saints. They still have Drew Brees, whose window of opportunity to win another Super Bowl is closing rapidly. And I believe that the Saints are on a mission this year. Somewhere along the line, we're going to pick our Super Bowl favorites. And right now, I'm telling you, it's going to be hard for me not to pick the Saints to go all the way. But we'll leave that for another day. The game's in the Superdome. I'm going with the Saints.
Funny thing, Madden playing against the Bucks. Tom Brady was doing okay. However, I was able to sack him like 3 or 4 times. Not mobile, and if you beat that line, then it's a problem for him. It's definitely going to be a problem. The other thing that came out of Madden I thought was hilarious. After we did that whole ranking show, when we ranked everybody, and of course the NFL, everybody ranked Kansas City Chiefs #1. But when you look at the Madden ratings on a team basis,
right?
Top rated team, the Saints.
There you go. I'm not surprised.
Top rated, all the media is running to Kansas City, but the Saints were the highest rated team, and I was like, wow, I was just surprised to see that. So I'll put that up on Ben and Barry at some point. But you're going to go with the Saints, going with the bias on that. All righty. Moving right along. Hey, man, we're kind of cooking here a little bit. Uh-oh. Cardinals at 49ers. Bias plus score 229 favors the 49ers. Now, you mentioned division games. And we always talk about the inherent difficulty of a division game, even when one team looks to be somewhat superior to the other team. Cardinals came in last year, rookie coach, rookie quarterback, new system. And by the end of the year, we had a little bit of respect. Kyler, we respected him. We knew he had an arm. We knew he could take off. And then they brought in D-Hop from the Texans, who apparently tweeted out grateful after he saw the Texans get spanked yesterday. And that added a little bit of sensationalism to social media. The Cardinals are extremely fast. They have a lot of speed on that team now. So if you're running the air raid, you got that type of speed. And they still have the running back from last year that they brought in, from Miami, who gave my Niners fits last year. This could be a pretty good game. We don't have the speed on offense. My Niners, my beloved Niners, on offense. And again, I had to play this game. I'm in the season now, right? Still kind of messing around, but I did play the season game with the Niners against the Cardinals. Yes, I won on the strength of a running game that was just ridiculous. We really put it on them. I kept Garoppolo to 14 attempts. He was 8 for 14. So, yeah, we played some ball control. We ran the ball. And that's what you're going to have to do because the Cardinals have big play capability with D-Hops and with some of their other speed receivers. You can be kind of up on them a touchdown or two, and then all of a sudden, bam, bam, they score, and you're like, oh, what happened? And you got a game. So that score, 229, I think is a little deceptive. I think this is going to be a much more competitive game than what that Bias Plus score shows, but it is what it is. It favors the Niners. What do you got?
I'm calling this one a trap game. It's a trap game for the 49ers. I'm glad you're already preparing yourself for this game to be really competitive, so it won't hurt as much when you lose the game. Cardinals. I thought you'd like that.
I like that. Yeah, sure. Anything else you got for us on that?
No, that's all I got.
That's all you got?
Yeah, I'm not going to start running down names and all. You did it already.
Okay.
You talked about Duke Hopkins. You talked about Kyler. You talked about Kenyon Drake. It's on, man. It's on.
It's going to be a good one. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, who's up next, Benny? Cowboys at Rams. Bias Plus score 82 favors the boys. Them Rams, man, people got some questions about those guys. They just paid, like you said, they just paid their cornerback, made him one of the highest paid ever for that position. They have the number one inside lineman, I guess you would say, the Rams do. One of those 99 rated guys. And, they have the boy genius at coach. They do have some level of continuity, but they got rid of Brandon Cooks, right? He's gone.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks is gone.
So,
in fact, he went to the Texans but didn't play last night because of injury.
Brandon Cook, right? That's his MO. Too much.
Yeah, the guy's had like 27 concussions, so,
Well, that's a soft tissue injury.
The softest.
All right, who you got?
Oh, it's funny. Red Zone's been on for the last 2 weeks, and they've been doing like last season, and they do like 3 weeks worth of Red Zone per day. So I think today they were like in week 13 or week 14 or something, and the Cowboys versus the Rams game was on. And
wow.
I'm watching it, and Zeke is ripping them apart. And they're isolating the camera on Aaron Donald. He's overrunning plays. He's getting double teamed. He's getting knocked over. He looks like he's caught in a turnstile when Zeke goes by. Everything you can imagine bad that could happen to a good defensive lineman was happening to him. So I don't know what's going to happen this time. Hopefully for him, he'll have some help. Their linebacker play was atrocious. Once Zeke broke through the line, he didn't even have to do – all he had to do was just accelerate, and he was blowing by guys. So hopefully they made some improvements on defense. I think they did in the secondary, but I don't know about it linebacker. I could be wrong. They're going to be hard-pressed to beat the Cowboys. They really are. I expect the Rams to be a little better than they were last year. I think Jared Goff is going to have a better season. I think his passing numbers will improve. And I'm interested to see the rookie Cam Akers. Hopefully he takes over the running game up there pretty soon. I think he's going to be a really good back. But I think the Cowboys are far superior to the Rams right now. I really do. Really do. I think the Cowboys are going to go into L.A., and they're going to handle their business, and they're going to go back home.
All right, you got the boys going with the bias there. All righty. Are you ready for this one, Benny?
I hope so.
Steelers at Giants. Bias plus score 121 favors the Steelers.
Well, just going to jot something down.
Let me just say, Steelers finished up at 18th in net points last year with minus 14. Giants at 28th with minus 110. So both teams were in the negative last year. Giants struggled in the turnover. They were 31st. And on defense, the Steelers were 6th after they brought in Minkah Fitzpatrick. And that defense really stepped up. That team really looked good. Big Ben is back. And so your Giants are going to be hard pressed. What do you got to say about it?
Boy, this is a tough one to open up with, I'll tell you. I expect that the Giants will be better this year than they were last year. That could be saying a lot. That could be saying a little. I believe that they will at least win a couple more games than they did last year. I expect Daniel Jones to improve. The good thing about the Giants' offense this year is that for the moment, the entire receiving corps seems to be healthy. So we saw Slayton step up last season when Shepard went down and did quite well. Well, Shepard is back now, and for the times that he's been able to be on the field, he's proven himself to be a really good receiver. Also, the tight end, Ingram. Guy's got all kind of skills, can't stay on the field. But right now, I'm hearing he's 100%. So the Giants are going to kind of go as Danny Dimes goes. But as long as he has Saquon to lean on, they've got a chance. The improvements they've made on defense in their linebacker core and up front remain to be seen. I believe they're going to be starting a rookie on one of their corners and possibly a rookie at safety. So it's going to be hard to tell. But I know they're going to be better than they were last year. I feel it in my heart. I expect it. I think as goofy as that new head coach seems to be, he's going to be goofy good, and that they're going to respond to him and become a real team, and they're going to be a problem for somebody. Now that I've said all those wonderful things about my wonderful team that I love so much, I'm picking the Steelers.
Hey, it's about football, man. You got to be realistic, and I can truly understand it. And let me mention that is the first of the Monday night game, Monday doubleheader, coming on at 7 p.m. in New York.
Yeah.
It'll be followed up by our next game, which is the final game of the week, Monday night. We have Titans at Broncos. Bias plus score 110 favors the Titans. Titans were looking at, they could smell the Super Bowl last year. They could see it. It was right there. It was right there. They just couldn't complete that deal. And that's a big 110. Broncos got a new quarterback. Second year, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Broncos quarterback, this is his second year?
Yes, this will be Drew Lock's second year. He didn't light the world on fire when he came in last year, but he did show some promise. They've got a really good receiver in Sutton. They've got a really good tight end in Noah Fant. They've got a really good running back in Philip Lindsay, and then they just brought in Melvin Gordon also. Of course, Melvin Gordon has had some injury issues, but Lindsay, I think, is really good. I don't think he gets the love that he should. And also, I talked about the two best college programs, LSU and Alabama. Well, Alabama's best receiver, Jerry Jeudy, is now with the Denver Broncos. So I expect him to make some noise somewhere along the line this season. I don't know how he'll be used early on, but what the heck? You got Drew Lock back there. Let him sling the thing and bring those young guys in and let's go. Because let's face it, with Von Miller going down, that's really going to hurt their defense. There's a few teams that are really good as a unit, and they have that one guy who really makes such a difference that he just makes everybody else better, like an Aaron Donald or like a Khalil Mack. And Von Miller is that guy for the Broncos, and losing him for the season is a real hurt piece. I don't know where they're going to manufacture a pass rush without him, but they're going to have to do something to fix that hole. That's going to be tough. That being said, although I think Denver is going to be fun to watch this year, I have to go with the Titans. I can't see them slowing down Derrick Henry. I don't believe Tannehill will be as good as he was last year. I think he's due for some regression, as they say in fantasy baseball. He can't.
Regression, Tannehill?
Yes, some regression. And when I say regression, I don't mean he's not going to play as well. I mean regression in numbers. Okay, this guy went from like a putrid passing percentage and completion percentage in Miami to a wonderful one as soon as he jumped to the Titans. And let's face it, having Derrick Henry in your backfield will do wonders for you when it's time to throw the ball. All of a sudden you got time and you got guys getting open, you know? So I think people are kind of used to him now. And I think his numbers are going to go down a little bit, which will hurt them because, well, I'm not going to say. I was going to say teams are going to load up for Derrick Henry, but they've been loading up for Derrick Henry and they still can't stop him. So I don't expect that to happen. But, yeah, I got to go with the Titans on this one. They're a better team. They're a better team. Both sides of the ball.
Ryan Tannehill had his best completion percentage last year at 70.3%. So it'll be
right. So
interesting.
if he regresses to 68%, that won't be horrible numbers wise, but it won't be as great a season as he had. He had a really good season. Like you said, they were sniffing the Super Bowl. He had a really good season, and he came right in and caught fire with them right away.
It was a good fit. I think that the personality or whatever, it all seemed to gel last year for them. You know, he was a good leader for that team. And, a few plays here or there, they could have stopped the Chiefs from running on them. So funny when people keep talking about the Chiefs running game as if it really doesn't exist. Then you look and maybe, last few minutes of the fourth quarter, you look at them running the ball down somebody's throat or something like that. And you kind of, wait a minute, they got a fullback, they got a running back, they have a run game, it was on full display last night, but, they closed out last year with a run, so, I think that's going to be interesting. Derrick Henry, he's Derrick Henry. Without Von Miller there on that end, it's going to be interesting to see. You're talking about filling the hole. Derrick Henry's going to fill that hole.
Man, let me tell you something, man. It's funny, people are like, oh, Derrick Henry, he's a bell cow. He's this, he's that. People forget his first 2 seasons. He didn't have many carries at all. He played behind DeMarco Murray for
right.
2 whole seasons. So his legs are still relatively fresh as far as, an NFL running back is concerned. He's still got a couple more real stellar years in him. His numbers could actually be better than they were last year. They built their offensive line to run the ball. And that's what they're going to do. And they know it, and the team they're playing knows it, and it doesn't matter. They're bringing the house, and until you can't stop them, you can only hope to contain them. So,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And until you slow them down and make them put the ball in Tannehill's hands, you're just going to keep getting Derrick left, Derrick right, and Derrick up the middle. I don't blame them. I would do the same thing.
It's what you're supposed to do when you have that type of monster back there, because now, again, and anything that you can do to control the psyche and the positioning of the defense, you're supposed to do. So Derrick Henry is going to automatically be an intimidator. He's going to automatically mean that the guy's going to have to come up a little bit and maybe get a little more eight man in a box type situation. Now you're controlling positions on the field, matchups, things of that nature. Just because you have that threat there, it's almost like with a speed guy, where you put that guy, even with D-Hops with the Cardinals. I mean, I had to start cheating my safety over to that side. You just can't leave that second cornerback on him. So it really makes a difference. Okay, so you're going with the bias on that one?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that wraps up the slate of games. Got a couple things I just want to talk about real quick. Going back to our timeline, we always have a little bit of commentary. So I'm going to throw this out there right now. As you can see there, Ben and Barry on football. BBF refused to use the Washington team's nickname, opting to call them the team that needs to change their name. Is it time now to apply this to Kansas City? These are some Native Americans who have been pushing to get Kansas City to stop using their nickname, and they're saying it's not an honor. And additionally, they say it brings out racist comments and things. They talk about the Trail of Tears, and when you have the opposition coming in because they're using all of these indigenous Indian historical terms that aren't necessarily complimentary or anything like that. Just thought I'd throw that in there. What do you think about that?
Who's using these terms? The media, the Kansas City media?
No, when you bring in the other teams and they're talking, when they're arguing back and forth to the Chiefs, and there's a lot of Indian references that are still being used. I should say indigenous American references that are still being used. Not all of them are complimentary.
Yeah, but who's using these terms?
Other teams, people who are having discussions. But the main thing is that this particular group wants them to stop using the Chiefs' name. I'm going to say it just for clarity purpose. They think that the Chiefs, just the fact that they're using that name, they want them to stop. They do not feel as if that is complimentary at all. It's still, as far as they're concerned, derogatory, and they think that they should stop using indigenous Indians in their team names. So,
Okay.
do they become the Kansas City team that needs to change their name on BBF?
I mean, we can. I don't have a problem with that. I don't feel as strongly about that as I did about the Washington team, and as I feel about the Cleveland baseball team. I think those are direct hits when you want to talk about racist type names and stereotypes and thus. And so I believe that the Kansas City management looks at Chiefs not so much as a slur, but as something to be proud of, or a chief being in a leadership role and things like that. Those are the kind of comments that I've heard in reference to them thinking that name is okay. But let's face it, in these days and times, and after what's happened in Washington, if those indigenous folks and the offspring of those indigenous people feel strongly about this and haven't had that much of a platform before, they have it now. So now's the time to go for it, if you're going to go for it, to put pressure on them to maybe change the name. And if the Kansas City management is smart, they're already quietly behind the scenes working on that, so that they don't go through the whole fiasco of being the butt of jokes about a team that can't figure out what to name themselves, like the Washington team is right now.
As I read the article, the name was chosen in 1963 to honor a mayor nicknamed, quote, the Chief, due to its founding of an imaginary Boy Scout Indian tribe. This occurred before the Civil Rights Movement and before the American Indian Civil Rights Movement in the 1970s. It says, for decades, hundreds of tribes, national Indian organizations, professional organizations have spoken out on this matter. In 2005, the American Psychological Association called for the immediate retirement of all American Indian mascot symbols, images, personalities by school, colleges, etc. So there's a lot of that going on. And so all of that's going to have to come under reconsideration. You know, you gotta respect at least their opinion, but I do agree. I didn't see it as derogatory as the Washington team name was. That was just, you know, that was just a bit ridiculous. Okay, so before we wrap this up, I'm gonna give you a chance to see if you have any further comments. I have one other comment that I'll throw out there.
Comments. I'm happy that the season is starting. I hope that the players are as responsible as they possibly can be, considering that they will not be in a bubble, and that they do the right thing and try to stay safe, not only for themselves, but for the sake of the game and also for their loved ones. You know, they're still traveling from city to city, so you don't want to take anything back home. You know, going back home should be a joyous occasion for you when you're able to get back home and play a couple of games at home and, you know, sleep in your own bed and see your kids and stuff like that. So in these days and times, the way things are right now, I just hope that they're all smart and they're being safe. Other than that, I can't wait for Sunday and get a full slate of games and get me some red zone and check my fantasy teams and let's go, man. Let's go. I'm ready.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So this is the comment that I have. We actually went to the website for the NFL Players Coalition and talked about how these guys were literally working with government. They were going into governments. They were talking to police. They were making changes in legislation. They were very involved. And what came out of the George Floyd protests, as far as the NFL and even the NBA, was what do we do next beside protesting? And that became kind of the question. And I thought it was an interesting question because what they should be doing next, the Players Coalition was really already doing, you know? And I was a little surprised that they weren't looked at for more leadership relative to the social movement. Literally, they're being given money like the Players Coalition now behind the Inspire Change movement with the NFL. You can go to the NFL and look up Inspire Change and you see all the different things that they're doing, but they're like another nonprofit. They're not like in a position where the league is looking at them for leadership in this, for league level leadership in the social movement. You know, they give a lot of credit to Kaepernick, but they're not exactly saying, okay, Kaepernick, tell us what to do next. You know, I would have thought that the Players Coalition would have been a natural leadership organization and not just an ancillary organization that's a part of the total movement. So I just wanted to mention that because I was a little surprised. We looked at their website. We saw that they were doing a lot of the important work. I mean, again, the Malcolm Jenkins called out by the Philadelphia Police Union, you know? So he was hitting that nerve relative to police unions well before the George Floyd thing happened. And I didn't feel like he got the support, you know, that he should have got from the league, you know? So it'll be interesting to see, you know, if that evolves at all, or if they're just continuing with their Inspired Change and they do their part, you know, in the total puzzle of activity that's going on, but not necessarily as a lead faction that if you're going to the NFL players, you're like, okay, what's next? Like, well, we got to go check with our leadership in the Players Coalition. that's not seem to be what's happening.
Interesting. That was interesting. And the whole time you were talking about that, I was thinking about a video that I saw today. It's a brand new video that the Miami Dolphins made. And it's got several of their players on it, several black players, several white players, and it ends with their head coach making a statement. And it's basically saying that they're not going to come out for the national anthem. And it has some choice words in reference to how we can all do better, including the government. And they also kind of call out the NFL owners. So that's just that team.
Miami Dolphins. You shared it. That was also shared on Ben and Barry, so you can see that video on Ben and Barry. They were talking about standing and kneeling for the two different anthems. And now they're doing both the Black National Anthem and the National Anthem. And so the question was, am I going to stand for one and kneel for the other, blah, blah, blah. So who was it? The Texans decided we're just going to stay back and we're not even coming out. So we don't even have to get into that. So a lot of that stuff still has to be, a settled. Players Coalition might be a help with some of that so that they could come together. All right, that pretty much wraps it up. Any last words?
Yeah, PTTFL fall season is back in effect starting this Sunday, same day the NFL starts. We'll be playing at Simons Recreation Center if you happen to be in Philadelphia, Walnut Lane and Rodney, and go Noles.
Who do you play?
Oh, we're playing Tri-State Bullies from Delaware.
All right. Okay, what time is that game?
9:30.
9:30. All right, I'll be asleep. On you, go Noles.